So, good afternoon to everyone, good evening, and I think it's morning time in some places. So, we had this conversation about what's unfolded in West of Bengal. Before that, we basically looked at the Waqf Board in another stream, but today we wanted to look at it in detail. Why and what is the origin of Waqf Board? Does it only exist in India, or does it also exist beyond? And how is it so powerful? What is the structure of it, and whatnot? So with that, I'll go to Aditya first today. So Aditya, as you've seen what's happened, what is the basic gist of the Waqf Board in India, and who is it controlled by, and why is it so powerful? Go ahead.
Thank you. So Waqf Board is, as it mentions, like in the name itself, it's controlled by the Waqf Board is controlled by the association. If I'm not wrong, it's a Sunni Muslim association who controls this board mainly. And I don't know much detail about it, but I know that it was started under the British period, so it's not a new organization or a new grouping. It's at least 150 to 100 years old, and Waqf Board is basically the idea, if I'm not wrong, started around the ninth or 8th century, which idea being that if you can donate your property in the name of God for the religious purposes. This We have proof of people uh, doing waqf, their property from like 9th century AD. The initial cases or reported historical proofs come from countries like Iraq and Iran initially, where people donated their properties for construction of schools, colleges, schools and like educational institutes. Also, people donated properties for construction of a mosque. People also donated properties uh, for construction of you have cemeteries where people are buried. So it basic idea was always that you can donate your property, and there are some rules regarding waqfs also, which are common to all the places where Muslims live. Some people allow these organizations. I'm not pretty sure that how it works every other place, but it's a very common practice, at least in the Muslim world, where you can donate your property, and it's a rule, at least in India, that once you waqf your property, it permanently goes to the this organization, and it has to be used by for religious reasons only. You can't give this property, resell it to some people for construction of, for example, construction of a mall or a building. You can't do that. It has to be religious reasons. It has to contribute to uh, missions that that group has. So that is the basic idea. And there has been multiple times there has been reforms happened to this organization, and the 2025 one is the latest one. So that's the basic idea of it. Mike Shah.
Okay, thank you very much for the gist. And is it an autonomous organization, or is it like monitored by the government? What's the situation?
It is monitored by the government. In fact, they have to the uh, it on the top of it, it is controlled by the state governments wherever they are functioning. It is controlled by the state governments, and the top leadership is always organized by the state leadership. So anytime any government changes, the top leadership always changes. But below that, it's there are permanent members who run these organizations. I don't know exactly how They are chosen or selected for these posts, but at the top of it, it is managed by the government. Yes.
Okay, Andolanji, what's this amendment in detail, and how is that a thing, and how is that going to make the situation fair?
So, just to amend on, not amend, but add on to the information which Aditya shared. So, there are a couple of Waqf boards, not one. So, there is a Sunni Waqf board, there is a Shia Waqf board. Okay, and then this Waqf board, it has a central level, and then it also operates at a state level. So, every state has its own Waqf board. A lot of states have Shia Waqf board as well as Sunni Waqf board. So these are the two primary, Waqf boards. This is not controlled by the government, so as to say, but since there is grants, etc., which are given by the governments to Waqf board, there is a bit of financial monitoring of the central board. However, the day-to-day affairs of the board is not intervened by the government, either the state or the central. The election to these work boards, the board members are all chosen by the Muslim community, whether the Shia Waqf Board or Sunni Waqf Board, so on and so forth. Now, the Waqf Act has been definitely since the date of Britishers, but two specific amendments came in. One in 1995, and the second one in 2013. Okay, and it is also important to understand the 1947 partition. So during partition, what happened is, the properties of Hindus in Pakistan, those were taken over by the Pakistani government, and people who were moving from India to Pakistan, Muslims, a lot of those properties were handed over to these people, so that people who have left their homes, houses, back in India, they can start a life up there in Pakistan. In India, surprisingly, what happened, most of these properties were, instead of being handed over to the Hindus who had come in from Pakistan, was handed over to the Waqf Board, right? So no property exchange took place, so as to say. The Hindu properties were handed over to Muslims who have moved in from India to reside in there. A lot of properties were acquired by local goons, etc. also, which normally happens in such scenario. But in India, all these properties were handed over to Waqf Board. So that's anomaly one. Now, when this happens, those number of properties were some 50,000, 60,000, under 100,000 set of properties are there. In 1995, there is a Waqf amendment came, which allowed certain leverages to the Waqf Board, but still it was reasonable, for their better management of their properties, to claim certain properties, that was Waqf properties, to ease the legal process for the Waqf Board to fight those cases more effectively, so on and so forth. So that was some additional powers given in 1995. Then subsequently in 2003, a very draconian amendment was incorporated 30, 60 days before the elections. It was around, not 30, 60 days, maybe 90 days before the elections. The draconian power which was handed over to the Waqf Board was one, that if Waqf Board makes a claim of a particular property that it is a Waqf property, they will do a survey. So Waqf Board will do a survey. Waqf Board will decide whether or not this property is Waqf property, and they will submit this application to the district magistrate. And in 30 days, the district magistrate has to get the property handed over to Waqf Board. Now, if someone has a counterclaim on this property, right? What is the normal process? So first of all, step one, you give a prejudicial interest to Waqf Board. So let's say if I claim up Aditya's property, that this property is mine, I have the papers, etc., etc. What I would do, I would not go to the DM, and DM will not hand over that property unilaterally to me in 30 days' time. I would have to go to court, file a case, win a case, and then the property would be handed over to me. And in case, Aditya is not satisfied with the judgment, he will go to higher court and Supreme Court, right? This is how the normal process works in a civilized society. Now, in this particular 2013 amendment, step one, Waqf Board was given an authority to do the survey themselves, and the DM had to comply with. And the other party, in case they wanted to make a counterclaim, instead of going to court, they had to go to Waqf tribunal itself. Now, these Waqf tribunal, though they were, advised by, retired judges, so on and so forth, but it was Waqf tribunal. And in case Waqf tribunal gave judgment in favor of Waqf, then the opposite party did not have any option, normal option, to go to a high court or Supreme Court. It ended there. So a Waqf comes, makes a claim on a property, the property is handed over to them. The other party can go to Waqf tribunal to say that no, this is my property. And if Waqf tribunal says no, it's not your property, it is Waqf property, that ends. The only option available with this guy was to not move a civil suit or a criminal suit, but can only move a specially petition to High Court or a writ petition to Supreme Court, which narrows down the legal standing of that particular individual. And this was applied very draconianly across the board from 2013 till date. So close to 900,000 property today are therein under the Waqf supervision. The problem further got accentuated because none of the Waqf Board kept the record of the properties. So now there are huge set of properties, but if you say, show me a list of your properties, whether they are registered in your name or not, Mr. Waqf, nobody was able to do that, right? And now these properties were being managed by administrator who are, I think, called Mutallavis or Mullavatis, something like that. That's the term used. Now these people, would occupy a property, give it on rent. The market rent could be 100,000 rupees. They would officially take only 10,000 rupees, remaining 90,000 they will pocket it themselves. So this was a huge land and money grabbing exercise going on all the way from 1995 till date. So what this particular amendment does is predominantly two things, two major changes. One is it takes back the 2013 amendment in toto, and also curtails, certain powers, with respect to 1996 amendment. The power which it takes away from the 1996 amendment was that in 1996 amendment said anybody can donate to Waqf, but the board members can only be Muslims. The current amendment says nobody other than Muslims can donate to Waqf. Waqf would be by Muslims only.
Is it classified as a government organization or a charitable organization?
It's a charitable organization. It's a charitable organization, an NGO sort of thing.
And who selects its chairman and people?
This is within the community itself. So most of the members, are selected by the community.
So there is some government has a proportion of people. They basically have to.
No.
Are there any proportions made in terms of how transparent or how it's going?
Yes, that's where government, since government also gives grants, because despite of they having huge number of properties, their revenues were minuscule, 160 crores, 150 crores. So even they could not pay salaries of Mutallavis and their administrative staff.
So the government pays the salaries of the people.
Yes, they help them financially. Traditionally.
There's another question. Like recently, I heard, and there was a lot of hoo-ha about that as well, that non-Muslim members need to be on the board of the Waqf as well.
Yes. So that is what I was coming to. So two provisions, or rather, this amendment basically curtails the entire 2013 amendment with respect to legal provisions. So now the DM. Waqf Board can certainly go to DM and say, this is our claim on the property. The report would be now submitted by the DM. So prima facie, if the DM believes that this is actually a Waqf property, then they would put up a report. Basis that report, Waqf can go to a normal court and file a case against somebody else who is occupying the Waqf property. they would not get a preferential handover of the asset anymore. Secondly, if somebody, and the normal legal proceeding will apply. So they will go to normal civil court. If they don't like, either parties don't like the judgment of the normal civil court, they will go to higher courts, high court and Supreme Court, so on and so forth. So the normal legal procedure will apply to Waqf Board rather than the specific, 2013. And the 96 amendment opened up, doors for non-Muslims to donate their properties to Waqf. That has been curbed. So it's only Muslims who can Waqf the properties. But when it comes to administration, there would be 2 women on the board, 2 members from the Pasmanda community. So there needs to be a fair representation. Those 2 women have to be Muslim women, and 2 non-Muslims can also be on board. So this is the 8-member board constitution. They can choose, but this is the classification.
So non-Muslims can now not donate to the Waqf Board. Is that correct?
Yes. Non-Muslims are not allowed to donate. You have to be a Muslim and at least be a Muslim for 5 years for you to donate to Waqf Board. There is a reason why this amendment has been done, because there were obtained number of cases where, let's say, I don't have any kids, right? And I have a Muslim friend. So what happens, and this has happened into, somebody I know personally. Now there's this old guy who's in good friends with his Muslim doctor, right? He has no immediate family. He dies at a ripe age of 70. He had taken over a boy, not taken over, he has almost adopted a boy whom he, initially willed his property. And subsequently, when he dies, his Muslim doctor friend made a claim through the Maulvi that he, before dying, became a Muslim. And he, and he showed a paper also that, he became a Muslim and he has donated all his property to Waqf. Right. And then the boy made a claim. He said, that I was adopted by him. So he said that you were adopted when he was a non-Muslim. Now he became a Muslim. Your adoption is no longer valid because Muslims can't adopt. Right. And this was the case made. And there are hundreds of cases like this where usurpment of properties were done in certain manner. So that is why it has been made that even if you convert to Islam, you have to minimum spend a period of 5 years as a Muslim, then you can work for property.
Okay, interesting. So we've got Adya with us. You've heard what Vivek and Aditya have basically said. Sorry, Andolanji and Aditya have basically said. Do you have anything to add to the premise of what's being said? Adya. First, I don't think Adya can hear us. Adya has to.
So just would like to add a couple of points. So as it stands today after the amendment, any Muslim can trust his property into Waqf, no restriction on that. All the properties which has been properly registered in the name of Waqf, which is not a central government land, state government land, tribal land, or disputed land, would continue to be with Waqf. So it won't go retrospective. But a lot of Waqf had made claim and taken over central government property, state government property. So you would be surprised, the Allahabad High Court, it was claimed by Waqf. And Allahabad High Court had to go to Supreme Court to get its property out of Waqf.
So an actual court had to go to court to get. Okay. So what was the background of that? Like that seems to be huge. Did this land belong to somebody?
So I'll tell you what happens. What happens is, so let's say in Tamil Nadu, right? One entire village was claimed as a Waqf property. Now this village is a 1500-year-old temple. The temple owns a lot of property and the villagers own a lot of agriculture land. So this is, temple town, a very small town, temple town. And the document shown was that Tipu Sultan 300 years back gave this land for Waqf. and hence this is Waqf land. Now the property is registered in the name of villagers, the property is registered in the name of temple, right? But and this is a 1500-year-old temple even before Islam came into existence. Leave Tipu Sultan. And
Andolanji,
just
did
because
people had rights to property like 1500 years ago?
no, they may have, they may not have. That's irrelevant, right? But if there is a temple up there in a place, right, which Tipu Sultan granted to a Waqf, now this property after 1947 has been registered, and they have a complete chain of documentation. The temple trust owns the temple land. The villagers own their own land transferred to them by 3 generations, and somebody shows you a document that I mean, on that basis, somebody can claim that entire India was, or 70% of India was that of Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb gave a letter that, he transferred 3 cities to Waqf. Would it mean that, those 3 cities will go to Waqf property?
This is where, like, it gets very complicated when we go so back in history, because under, like, under these rulers, in a literal way, like, the entire, like, states belong, they were literally owned by these rulers. So, like, where do you draw the line? Like, who was that?
You draw the line,
I have a question.
Aditya.
I have a question.
Just one point I
Andolan,
want to make before you. Just one point I want. You draw a line for 1947. So in 1947, let's say Tipu Sultan fought and won a state of land. Aurangzeb fought and won a state of land. But subsequently, he lost that land to Marathas, or they lost their lands to Britishers. And Britishers, in turn, signed the accession agreement, not the accession, but the, transfer of power to India together with its land. So that's where the, cutoff is. Now, Dwarka was claimed as a Waqf land. The entire island of Dwarka, which technically has a history of 4,000 plus years, is claimed by the Waqf. The
Dwarka
entire island.
Island? Where is this island?
Yes. Bet Dwarka. It is in Dwarka itself.
Where is
So
Dwarka?
from the Dwarka is in Gujarat, and Bhet Dwarka is an island 8 kilometers away from Gujarat. It is supposed to be the Rajdhani of Shri Krishna.
I always
Right?
thought Dwarka city.
I have a question. Guys, I have a question. My internet is working fine, so let me ask the question. I just opened this Al Jazeera article, and it says that Waqf owns around 872,000 properties and 1 million acres land, which is around 1 million acres land, with an estimated value of about $14.22 billion. Now, my question is, owning so much land while most of Indian Muslims are living in poverty and in slums, who's taking all this money, and what's the point of all these land when it's not benefiting Indian Muslims?
So there are 2 points to it. This number of 872,000 properties, close to 900,000 properties, specifically grew in last 30 years. At the time of partition, the number of properties was close to 60, 70,000 properties. Right? Post the 1996 amendment and the 2013 amendment, this grabbing of property, got accelerated drastically. So, to give you an example, I gave you the Bhet Dwarka example, a Tamil Nadu Temple Town example. There are hundreds of examples like that. The Waqf Board will come. Ambani House, Mukesh Ambani, the richest person in this country, his house, the most expensive house in the world, is claimed by Waqf as its own property.
So if
Right?
it's claimed by a Waqf property or Waqf board, why, like, if there is a rule of 1 month and you have to hand over the land to them, then why hasn't they already gotten that land according to your
Because
own?
because 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 they lost the case.
So there is a legal process, right?
There is a legal process,
No, that's
but
not.
that
No,
legal
Did they
yeah,
have
process
to
is
empty that property in a month?
I don't.
yeah.
Like you said, did they have to empty the property in a month?
No,
Can I?
they did not. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. No, एक second. My question is not what they did and what they didn't do and how they acquired that property. My question is that Waqf Board, if it's a charity board and it is supposed to be for the welfare of Muslims, how come it owns so much land and so much money when Indian Muslims are
Allow me to,
living
yeah.
in slums? What is the point of
I'll
this
tell you.
board
I'll tell you.
when Indian
I'll
Muslims
tell
are
you.
living in slums?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question, and this is being raised by majority of Paspandas in the country, and that is why you do not see a lot of street protest in India on the Waqf amendment, because the Waqf board since its inception has been the den of Ashraf. So I think the last I remember is 93% of all the positions held ever in the Waqf board have been by the Ashraf community, right? And all the mutallabis, all the owners of these or the administrator of these properties have been the Ashraf. What they do, as I gave you an example, they will rent out a property, okay, and let's say the market rent is 100,000, and they will officially charge only 10,000. So in the Waqf, only 10,000 will come, remaining 90,000 will go to the pocket of the mutallabi. So Asaduddin Owaisi holds some 3,000 acres of land, Waqf property, right? Similarly, most of the this guy Atiq Ahmad, who was the Don of Allahabad, he used to own some 17 Waqf properties. Own in the sense, he had created a Waqf, taken over the Waqf property, and all the benefits were just moving to him, not to anybody else. So the total income of all these properties just a meager 160 crores. That is why they have to, for paying salaries, also state and central government supports them. So this is nothing but a land grab mafia ecosystem working, specifically after the 2013.
But the question over there
Right.
is,
So doing.
Continue,
Go
ma'am.
on,
Your
Shah.
voice was breaking up, but now you're audible.
My question is that why are Indian Muslim not against it? If it's so obvious, if the money is so obvious, if the net worth is so obvious,
They are.
why?
They are. So that is why the Ashrafs are, this particular amendment, but the Pashmanda community. So in Lucknow, some 300 Ashrafs came to oppose the passing of the bill. They were chased away by some close to 1,000 Pashmandas. They said, screw you guys. I mean, you are not giving us any benefit. You are grabbing. And, very interesting part is, Sunni Waqf Board has 40 or 50 lands in Lucknow grabbed from the Shia Waqf Board. Okay. So, most of the, half of the property, till 1996, before the 2013 amendment, most of the properties which were grabbed from the Muslims only.
do you know what I don't understand and I fail to comprehend, and probably some Indian Muslims are not going to like what I'm about to say. But if you've got so much land, you've got so much money, and you've got leadership on top of you, who's not doing anything for you, I think you deserve to be in the position you're in. Somebody else is taking it, you weren't using it. So I think accountability is 100% correct. I don't think when I look at the amount of property and the value that property holds, I think the Muslim community in India should, whether it's the Shia Waqf Board or the Sunni Waqf Board, they did not really benefit from it. And the leadership on top did not basically use it for the benefit of their community. And so there's a term known as a fat cat. If you've got fat cats leading to an extent where there's huge destitute in that way, then those fat cats need to be removed. Maybe if the Indian government was to take over the Waqf Board, or any government for that matter, maybe they can use those resources for the betterment of the Muslim community as well as people beyond that community. It's better than being in the hands of a few people.
Can I
If
respond to that, Shah?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
And also the question that Maham asked before that, like, it's interconnected, to be honest. So the problem is, like, I don't know where what are the numbers. I would love to see a survey where, like, I'll see the, like, Pashmandas supporting it. Like, you can take out like 200, 300 people on the street and claim that, Pashmandas are with us. That's not true, to be honest. My understanding is that, most of the Pashmanda Muslims will also would have been opposing it, and not because they don't want to have a fair share in like, in the system or in the, like, Waqf board. I would love to see, like, equal representation for the Pashmandas in the Waqf board. But the problem is, like, it's the first issue is the intention, like who's doing it. And my belief is that majority of the Muslims, since BJP barely gets around 5 to 6% Muslim vote, like, I believe most of them are Pashmanda Muslims, and of course, like, it looks like they don't support the like, the BJP party. So what can be number of the Pashmandas who are, like, supporting this? I would love to see a survey, like, I don't think there is any. Like, you can take out 20 people on the street and claim that, these people are with us, and see the Pashmandas are loving it. And that's not how these things work. Like, hundreds of thousands of people have come out to protest, but I didn't see, like, hundreds of thousands of Muslims coming out in support of these amendments or these reforms. The second point is, like, of course, like, there's no denying, uh, like, if you're earning 160 crore rupees out of these properties, which are valued according to Maham, like, 15-16 billion dollars. 116 crore is barely, like, 80 crores is like 10 million. 160 crore is barely 20 million dollars. So even if you look at, like, return on your investment per year, it's barely like 0.1 to 0.2%. Like, it has to be the world's worst investment if, like, your, like, rental income on your property is like 0.1 or 0.2% of the price of that property. Like, there can't be any worse investment. Like, even in if you, like, buy a flat and lease it out, like 3 to 4% or 2% at least, like, return, like, rental income is, like, mostly expected, which is again like 30 to 40 times of money, or 40 times of the money should be recovered from these properties. I agree, but the problem with Muslims is that they don't trust the BJP government and decisions taken by them. And there are, like, already people finding loopholes. According to them, I'm not claiming it, and to be honest, I haven't read the arguments from both the sides. But I can clearly tell you that, you can't take away the Waqf board is not taking away your property within 30 days. They are, like, claiming a lot of things. Nobody is giving it away. Like, there are, like, claims by Waqf which are, like, actually on solid grounds, and, like, they haven't the Waqf board haven't gotten them already. So it means that, there is no this 30-day thing. The second point regarding the claims made by Andalanji is that there is, like, a tribunal. Yeah, there is a tribunal to hear these cases, and the tribunal is set by our, like, high courts. And, like, these are, like, our high court, Supreme Court, or whatever, like, district court judges. They are not, like, selected by the Waqf board. These are coming out of our, like, legal systems of the Indian courts, not some mullah is, like, allotting them these duties. It's these people are selected by the state and central governments. So these are, like, as good as it gets. And the second point is that, he also made a claim that you can't go to higher courts, which is again wrong. You can go to higher courts regarding your, if you're not satisfied with the ruling, you can go to the higher courts. You can have a hearing regarding it. And it's not that, that tribunal, if they have decided that this property goes to Waqf, and you can't do anything about it, which is again wrong. So there are a lot of claims made regarding these which are not absolutely not true. And there are people who will claim that, even Waqf's claim about on the property of the Ambanis, the Antilla, it has some grounds on legal ground. They still claim it.
That's fine. I
So
understand that, but my question
doesn't
to
mean
you.
that you are in power today, and if you have like support,
Hmm.
doesn't change the fact that they're not claiming it. I don't know, like, I haven't
No, no,
read, but
I
they still
understand.
do it, like.
I I understand what you're saying, but my question would be the same. What are they doing? Do you know of anything which the Waqf Board does for the Muslim community? Is
So,
there any?
on that point, Shah, I 100% agree with you. And I also agree with Andolanji on that one point that, these majority community or the upper caste Muslims are controlling these boards, are using. And also, I also agree that, these, like, for example, a property which has a rental yield of, say, 100,000 rupees has been leased out at like 10,000, like one tenth the price. And these middlemen are, like, keeping that money, and it doesn't reach anywhere. And this is the reason why majority of Waqf properties are not with Waqf themselves. Like, even the property which are not even disputed are not with themselves. They are already like leased. Some properties has, like, what do you call it, like, people have already taken over those lands. They are not legally with them, but somebody has constructed a shop there. Nobody, like, you go there and you say this is a work property, and they are like, you can take it if you can. So a lot of places are, like, taken over by, like, these small jugga bastis and all these, like, these small settlements. People have taken over that. And there are not just people haven't taken over it, but a lot of properties are also, like, in a very bad condition because of people all started living there. And, like, it's a slum kind of places. And I also agree with that point that these properties should be used by the Muslims. I agree. They should, like, build schools over there. Like, you have Aligarh Muslim University, build a university over these properties, build a mosque over there, build things which can be used to uplift the Muslim community. I'm not saying, use it for the Hindus, use it for the Muslims, use it to educate them, help them to, like, if they want to learn the Quran or the religious education, or if you want to have like sports,
Aditya, I
build
want
a
to bring
sports
it to.
academy, everything. And I agree with that. Yeah.
I also want to bring it to people's attention that I'm sure if a rich Muslim is dying or has decided to donate his money or his property to an organization, he's hoping he's going to give it. That organization is going to provide those resources or make use of it for the needy in the community. People don't want to make people rich, otherwise they won't be donating to them. And ironically speaking, across the border in Pakistan, Waqf, also known as Awqaf in Pakistan, is basically an organization which is feared by anyone who's running a trust or anyone who is basically own any land or something that they're going to take over. And when they take over, the family's control or whoever began that charity or that trust is basically going to lose control of whatever is being provided there. There are a lot of shrines in Pakistan, which the Waqf controls. I think 85-90% of the shrines in Pakistan are controlled by the Waqf Board. And Waqf stroke or calf. And a lot of people don't want that to occur in various ways. So it's very interesting how the same organization, when it is like in majority, even there it's not really doing much for the people in Pakistan. And because the government has a lot of influence within the Waqf Board or the Awqaf in Pakistan, what you'll see is a lot of politicians who want to be on the boards of these shrines and the Waqf Board. So because it's just very lucrative. So I think this needs to be assessed within India as well. They need to assess it in a way where it becomes more transparent. And I think if it's rather that property, even if it was donated by some rich Muslim, go to the needy people. And if it's not going to the needy people, one rich man stealing it from another rich man, what's the difference? I am not going to lose any sleep over that unless this organization can basically prove that they've done something for the needy people. That's why they
So,
inherited that property, right?
so my point is simple, Shah. As long as it is Muslim properties, Waqf properties, it is up to the Waqf board and the Muslim community to decide how they want to use this property, how do they want to make money out of it, whether they want to school, they want to build hospitals, they want to build mosque, whatever. I mean, that's their property, their choice. The basic relief which I see in this bill is my property tomorrow would not be claimed unnecessarily. I would, have a normal legal process, the same as Waqf has. So we would be on an equal footing in case anything like that happens. And I can fight out my case legitimately and logically. Right. I am least worried about what Waqf has done for Muslims or Muslims have done for Waqf. That's an internal matter. If, one of the Azam Khan, one of the prominent leaders of UP, if he takes over property of Waqf, and other Muslims in his village and creates a huge university out of it, a private university, not a charitable one, and charges fees from Muslim student 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees per annum. Be my guest. I don't have a problem. This is something which Muslims have to fight within themselves. But I am relieved. My only relief point is the draconian powers which were handed over to the Waqf board and the Waqf tribunal. They have been curtailed. And other than that, I'm fine. I would not get into debate whether or not, they were doing something good, whether Pasmandas are against
Can
it
I
or
ask you
for it.
another question, Andolanji? How are the Indian mandirs, the Hindu mandirs and Sikh gurdwaras run? Do they have equivalents of Waqf?
Yes, yes and no. So for Hindu mandirs, there is a state act, HRCE Act, Hindu religious and something something. So the entire board is predominantly controlled by government, unlike in the case of Waqf.
Mhm.
Waqf and Gurudwara committee are independent bodies making their own decisions, day-to-day decisions. The most of the large money temples जहाँ पे donations ज़्यादा आती हैं, majority of them are under state control, state supervision, and even they had to go and fight cases in High Court and Supreme Court that they would follow the practice of prayer that they have been doing from last thousands of years, because the state government also wanted intervention to change the priest or the system of prayers at few temples, which High Court thankfully granted it back to the at least the religious part. They said the government will not interfere.
Mm.
So
So,
who is choosing who will be the pandit and who will recite the prayers and who decides that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is now decided by the agamas, the temple agamas. Every temple has its agamas. So let's say if it is a Tamil or a South Indian Vishnu temple, that will have its own agama. If it is a Shaivite temple, it would have its own agamas. If it is a Shakti temple, it would have its own agamas.
And can they
Those
also have
agamas,
like people of different other religions, like members of these agamas?
not for agamas, not for religious practices. Those have to be the ones decided by the priest and the system that has been followed in the temple. But everything, even the priest cannot pick up single penny from the gullak that would go to the government. So, to give you an example, the Kerala temple, which was there was a decision, right? So the donation was 800 crores, and the government only used to give 8 crores to the temple per annum for maintenance and the salaries of all the priests and everybody. So government was taking 792
I,
crores.
I have another interesting question. Like I gave you the example of Pakistan, how Waqf takes over some new place. So if tomorrow somebody was to begin a temple, a private mandir, or a charitable Hindu trust, at some stage, is there a possibility that the Indian government or that board can take?
Yes, yes, this has happened. So, very interesting cases with respect to ISKCON and with respect to, one more, I'm not Chinmaya Anand something like that. So, ISKCON was being tried to be taken over by the government. So, ISKCON gave a declaration in the Indian courts: we are not Hindus, we are minority, religious organization who have their own specific practices, and we want to run our institution, and we should get protection under the minority religious institution. And the court accepted their appeal. So in India, ESCON legally is not a Hindu organization. It's a minority organization who has its own set of practices and beliefs.
So you
And
will.
hence,
Do you know, Andolanji, what's really surprising? Well, not very surprising. That's what South Asians are probably like. You'll find a lot of religious organizations in Pakistan also basically saying we don't fall under that. Namely, they take the shelter under being Shiites when they're not Shiite organizations. So very, very similar thing. Another thing, because every Muslim has to pay zakat, but the Shias, they don't owe the zakat to according to their
so
faith.
so just to give you a perspective, so there are very interesting cases. The richest temple in the world, the one in Kerala, forgetting the name again. So this was managed by the king's family. Now the Kerala state government wanted to take it over. The chest of this temple has one of the richest, chest in the world, if compared to any religious institution. Millions and billions of worth of gold and silver and ornaments and so on and whatnot. So the Supreme Court had to appoint a separate body for unlocking, counting, keeping it safe under the Supreme Court supervision. Otherwise, the government, if the Kerala government had got its hold over the temple, they would have siphoned off a lot of gold. They have done it in many temples. And finally they handed over the governance of the temple back to the erstwhile ruling family, to which the temple originally belonged.
Chuck, can I add another point
Yeah.
regarding the, who can start a temple in India? It's very funny that, now I told you, last month I shifted to my new home, but the last home where I lived for 10 plus years, like, to start a private temple is it's not just, allowed. It's so much encouraged that the colony that I lived in, so there is a rule in these organized colonies, at least, that you have to have a park in every colony, right? Government mandated. They have in the plan itself, the Jaipur plan, JD approved plan, the authority approved plan. Every new colony has to have a space for park. You should have proper parking, all those things, right? You should have proper roads and all these things. So the park that in our society, in our colony, was taken over by this person who had four rooms. He built walls around it, and he built a small temple inside it. So basically, he 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 had taken over the land. He built a small temple where the people from the society used to come there. They also used to donate money there. They used to donate food there, and all the money also that he collected used to go to himself. So that's how it is. It's easy here to start a business with zero investment, where you get to take the land, where you get to take the donations, and where you also are revered by the colony, where people respect you as
So,
somebody special. And
I
it's
think,
it's everywhere.
So,
Aditya,
Like
so
any
Aditya,
place, if you
all I
have to
have,
take over, just build a small temple there, and nobody even
so
will try to touch it, even dare to touch it.
do
so
you know,
Aditya, all
Maham?
I have to do is make a
I know
temple.
what you're about to say. Just hold on. I know what you're about to say. But so I mean, how are we different? I don't. I only a religious different. Go ahead, elaborate on the mosque thing.
Oh no, I don't think it's any different. Like every corner you go in Pakistan, there is a mosque, and I have donated so much money. I mean, even a very small amount to mosques, but well, we don't know where it goes. So I guess religion is the best business in subcontinent. But that's a very good idea, Aditya. If ever I needed
That's
to buy
everywhere.
land whenever I needed to buy land in India, I'll make sure to make a mandir in it.
Just last week, like you can go, you can
Listen
go
to
to
this
YouTube.
one, Aditya. I have a very similar story to what you're basically saying. So we've got some land in an area in Pakistan, and we went there, and somebody was just building stuff over there next to it, and my like cousin, I don't want to name him, uh, basically said, "Man, this is not supposed to be there. This is not from our people. We're not the ones doing it. So what exactly is going on?" And then we found out after digging in a bit, it was some Molanas basically taking over that place. And they were just going to build it. And what they've done, they've created a small four walls around the four stuff, and they've claimed it to be a madrasa and a thing, and then you can't remove it, and then they would say you can't remove a mosque and all that. So before they could settle, the next thing he did, even though it was risky without telling anyone, he basically got it bulldozed.
So just last week, Shah, like the biggest news of this week is a property in my, like very close to my home, that even my current home. It's Sirsi Road. It's like one of the most prime developing locations in Jaipur, where they are like expanding the road to 160 feet. And this one particular location had this, like again, somebody started like a shop there. So he also built a small temple around it to, like formalize that piece of land as somebody, like as legal. So the government, uh, allowed the state to, like demolish all that illegal property. Around 280 legal properties were destroyed, except that, like particular temple. Now you have a 160 feet wide road, which is around 2.5 kilometer long, only only stopped by this one particular point where there is a temple. We also have, like BJP government in like in power in Rajasthan. They can't even think of removing that temple from there, because people have, like they can't do it. Basically, being a Hindu party, they can't do it. And this entire project is halted because of that small piece of land controlled by that temple, which is not even 30 years old, probably 25, 27 years old. Doesn't have any papers, doesn't have anything, controlled by, like the local pandit there, and you can't do anything about it.
We've got a very old friend. I don't know if the rest of you remember him, Mr. Affy. Go ahead. Are you there?
अल्लाह ब्यूटीफुल ब्यूटीफुल तुम्हारे चेहरे बहुत सुंदर है ब्यूटीफुल फेसेस लव यू शाहजी माय फ्रेंड
यार अभी विश्वामित्रा जी, आप केडी की मिमिक्री क्यों कर रहे हैं? केडी भाई ने आपका क्या बिगाड़ा है?
मुझे अभी, I actually thought it's KD.
It's not. It's our great friend
It's our
Vishwamitra.
Gujju friend. Is it our Gujju friend?
Yeah,
यार
Vishwamitra.
तूने तो दोस्ती छोड़ दी यार आदित्य किधर है तू यार आई मिस यू सो मच मेरे दिल के अंदर के तार अभी भी तेरे को याद कर रहे हैं झिनझिनाते हुए ब्यूटीफुल मैन
यार केडी भाई की मिमिक्री ना करें आप।
यार व्हाई
That
डोंट
was
यू इनवाइट
spot
हिम
on,
यार
by
ये
the way.
तुम लोग ये क्या करके बैठे हो भाई तुम्हारा शो का स्टार वही है केडी वो जहां जाएगा तुम्हारी स्पेस जो है वही स्ट्रीम सारे रिकॉर्ड तोड़ देगी।
ठीक है, आप जरा आंदोलन जी आए हुए हैं यहाँ पे, आद्या आई हुई हैं, आप जरा टॉपिक के ऊपर आए ना। विश्वामित्रा जी, आपकी तबीयत ठीक होगी। और आपने सबको क्या कहेंगे, कंफ्यूजन में डाल दिया है ना।
अच्छा, इसमें एक चीज, एक थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्टिंग डिविएशन लेते हैं. वन पॉइंट दैट यू मेड some time back with respect to leadership. And this is, I was discussing with one of my Muslim friends also. We were discussing the Palestine issue. And I actually asked him, so, he's been quite critical of RSS, like any normal Indian Muslim is. And I asked him this one question. I said, RSS has built 24,000 schools, some 12,000 Ekal Vidyalaya, so on and so forth, all imparting modern education, right? Not the Gurukul types. What has Muslim leadership done across the globe? Is there anything like Muslim leadership? Does it exist?
I think some of the Arab countries have built some universities and infrastructure, but that's about it. Nothing after that.
And a lot of Wahhabi and a lot of Wahhabi mosques.
Oh yeah.
No, I was actually surprised. The other day I was reading a news item that this country, Indonesia, donated a lot of money to Palestine. And then there was a subtext to build 100 mosques. And I was like zapped. I said, the guys need a hospital. The guys need a school. The guys need a clean drinking water. You are giving them 100 mosques. Why not give them the money to build up a hospital or a school or a sanitation plant or something like that?
I think if we're fair, there are hospitals and places like that, even in Pakistan. Like, for example, Aga Khan from the Ismaili Shia community, they've built hospitals. Sheikh Zayed, they've got a network.
No, my point is slightly different. Is there, when we look at in India, very honestly, I do not find any Muslim leadership per se. When I say Muslim leadership, who is actually working to benefit for the interest and cause of Indian Muslims. I don't see a single Muslim leader. I find that gap in Pakistan. I see that gap in across the globe. And this triggered, I'll tell you the reason of this trigger. There is this Maulana, this entire Palestine and Israel conflict is going on. He is sitting in UK and he's giving a statement कि तुम्हारे पास गोलियां कम पड़ जाएंगी, हमारी छातियां कम नहीं पड़ेंगी. मैं कहता हूं, what kind of a stupid statement is this?
Man, you just made me spill coke on my carpet.
No, it's a honest this thing. Is there anything like Muslim leadership, not just with respect to making hospitals, but people who can actually guide Muslims in the right direction? All I see is Maulanas inciting people to die. I somewhere I get sympathetic with Palestinians that everybody across the globe is उनको जैसे हिंदी में बोलते ना, चने के झाड़ पे चढ़ा के उनके बच्चों को मरवा रहे हैं और कुछ नहीं कर रहा है.
Okay, so as far as hospitals and things like that are concerned, I think Mahathir Mohamad built a lot of stuff and created a network, but that's as far as his country is concerned, not internationally. But Andolanji, if you look at the Aga Khan Foundation, they've done a lot of work, even though they're from a minority Muslim sect, but they're present all over Africa, Pakistan, even India, various other places. And so I think that's a good example. After that, you've got Sheikh Zayed. Sheikh Zayed has basically, again, he's been one of those kings who's basically invested in a lot of hospitals and a lot of universities around the globe, especially in developing Muslim countries. I think we've got hospitals by Sheikh Zayed, even in Pakistan. But overall, I think they can do much more. They should have done much more. And if I haven't looked at Waqf Board or Waqf Board in this same perspective, it seems to me that when it comes to Indian Muslims have a lot of leverage within the community, and they need to question those leaders who are in the Waqf Board to basically trickle that money down. That's a lot of land. That is an empire they should be sitting on and making use of those things. And same, maybe I did not look at it from that perspective for Pakistan either. When we think about it, I don't see the Awqaf doing any benefit for the betterment of anyone in Pakistan. And I think that is again something which needs to be looked at. And that is again something which needs to be sorted out and fixed, Andolanji. And I think you're absolutely right, and I won't disagree with that fact. I think Hindu leadership, in whatever kind of leadership it might be, people might call it racist, Muslims might call it far right, but we don't have an organization like the RSS in any of those countries where they're actually doing welfare for the Muslim community. And I think there is a huge lack of Muslim leadership around the globe. And they need to wake up, smell the coffee, and they need to realize that if you're not going to do anything for your people, when, for example, in India, you've got Waqf and you're not doing anything for the Muslim community. In Pakistan, you've got Awqaf, you're not doing anything for your community. And then you've got examples like Agha Khan, who are not even like majority sect. Even Agha Khan, it's very shameful. They're doing more in Pakistan in terms of charity, in terms of contribution to the economy, and more towards the mainstream development in humanitarian stuff than mainstream Muslims are doing as an organization. And that, again, even the Shiites don't accept them. The Hasnashri Shiites don't even accept them as mainstream Shiites. So again, I think they need to wake up and they need to realize they need to sort this stuff out for their people. And people need to be more challenging and ask these organizations, what are you doing for us? People gave and donated that land you're sitting on for our use, not for your use. So that's my take on that. I agree with you. There's a huge lack of leadership within the Muslims all over.
Just extending this, because I haven't heard. Yeah, please.
I was just saying, you all can give your final statements, because we've been talking for 1 hour, so we're going to end this then. Go on, Andolanji.
Sure. So, I think it's a welcome measure. I would refrain my comment on whether the Waqf was using properties for the benefit of Muslims or not. That is for the Muslims to decide. What my comfort and relief is that now everything, without hampering the rights of Muslims. So, today if Muslim wants to Waqf his property, he can more than do it like he could do it day before yesterday. But yes, if there is a claim on my property, I have the legal right to go it and defend it in a normal civil suit, the way it should ideally be always. So all the draconian provisions which could have curtailed on my right, possibly nobody has acquired my property, to be very honest. But in case, at least I'm relieved that there are no such draconian laws available to a certain section of trust or society which can actually go ahead and do it. So that part relieves me, and there is a bit of, there's gonna be a lot more transparency in terms of operations of the Waqf Board. And yes, I have the old Khatri grievance. I should have been allotted a house or a land. Our family should have been allotted from the properties left behind by the Muslims who moved to Pakistan. The way my properties were handed over to somebody who moved in from India to Pakistan, I should have been given a reciprocal property, but it was handed over to Waqf, which I find it very unfortunate and unfair.
So my closing statement, very quick point that of course,
I think Andolanji, you have a reason to start.
Sorry, I couldn't get, your voice was breaking. Can you repeat? मैम आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही थी. Can you repeat what the last time you said?
I think her internet is not.
I think she's frozen.
So my closing statement, Shah, is a quick point regarding Andolanji's Khatri issues. So uh, both the people, people who came from Pakistan to India and from India to Pakistan, did get properties or lands in the reciprocative countries. The Hindus who came from Pakistan also got properties in India. I'm not sure how much it was or how valid it was, who got more, but it happened on both the sides. It wasn't exclusively for Muslims who left from India to Pakistan who got it. It's also the people who came from Pakistan to India also, like the Sikhs who came to the eastern side of Punjab, got agriculture land. A lot of people also got homes and all those things. Not sure how different it was, but it happened on both the sides. The second point regarding the Waqf amendment is that my understanding is that I believe if you want to oppose the BJP, don't hit them where they are strong, hit them where they are weak. So I think opposing the Waqf board amendments only fuels the
Did you really
BJP.
say
It
Waqf?
only empowers them. Huh?
Aditya, did you really say Waqf Board by mistake?
Waqf Waqf
Yeah,
board.
you just said Waqf Board rather than Waqf
Waqf.
Board.
Yeah, I was trying to use my epiglottis. Probably.
You know what Waqf means, right?
I have no idea, and please don't tell
Problem.
me what it is.
Waqt means problem in Punjabi.
All right, all right. So I think opposing these amendments is of no help. The more you oppose it, the more you protest against it, the more it fuels the Hindutva. So it's not the place where you want to hit the BJP. Hit them where they are weak, which I think the opposition parties can find, and they're trying to. That is the reason why BJP didn't get a majority this time. If they keep hitting the right spots, I think we can see a time where these things can be changed in the future in a different government. Also, these amendments can be changed, or better amendments which the Muslims also support and which are helpful for the people who believe that their lands were falsely taken away, can also be rejoiced, a win-win scenario. So let's see what happens in the future. Thank you.
So Vishwamitra, your opening and closing statement in one go. That's never happened before. Go ahead.
I think he's not around. Do you
I'm
see
well
him?
around. I'm here.
Yes.
So
Oh,
we're
Oh, okay, okay.
go
about
ahead.
to end.
Should I go?
Yeah. So
Should I
Vishwamitra is
just?
giving his
Yeah,
opening and
last one.
closing
So
statement.
Vishwamitra,
All right. First of all, good to see you guys back after a long time, like literally. And whatever I'm gonna say, there's a lot comes from my experience and my desire to poke fun and see things funny around me. So please don't mind. And I know you guys have thick skin, like hippos. So I'm glad I'm among you. Um, the thing is that I'm coming from very humanitarian background, right? I have worked with the grassroots, for many calamities and developmental projects. And I have seen how Focus Humanitarian Network works. You know what I'm talking about. Focus Humanitarian Network is one of the largest Muslim aid organization in the world, which has their representations in all over all the countries in the world. And that's run by Ismaili Khoja community. Now think about it. They have provided a great model for the Muslim welfareism. And mind it, I have seen this. They make it sure that if they are intervening in village for few Khoja homes, they ensure that they are also building homes of other communities to earn better goodwill of the Khoja community, which is minority in a village. So very, very smart, very humanitarian, developmental move. People accept and appreciate it.
the one people who refused to acknowledge their capability and translate that into their own institutions were Sunni, clergy and personal low class of India. They refused to learn from Khojas. They refused to learn from Bohras how good they are doing. I mean, let's just be honest with this. We want progressive ideas from all sorts in all places in the world. Why that should be only the certain creative ideas within the Muslim society should be blocked by majoritarianism or idea of threat, the sense of vulnerability of being Islam getting digested into the larger narrative. I think that is a vulnerability and that's the insecurity. A lot of people who are criticizing this timely needed, highly important, which really matters to India's overall growth development story. This amendment is going to empower people more than disempower them and allow people to rethink their humanitarian ideas. So that's where my opening and closing statement is about.
Thank you very much, Vishwamitra. Very well said, very well spoken. I completely agree with you. And I think even when you find in majority of Muslim countries, like I mentioned before as well, you'll find the Aga Khan Foundation everywhere possible. They're doing a great job, and I believe that is something which needs to be looked at. So with that, I think Maham's internet connection has completely lost us. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.